Hello everyone, welcome back to Season 3, Episode 3 of Venturous Talk. I'm your host, Tian Jun. For today's episode of Venturous Talk and the current events coordinator for Venturous PR. So in this episode of Venturous Talk, we have a special guest with us, Daniel Wallis, who is the founder and CEO and an ex-regional manager for Shazam. Welcome, Mr. Daniel.
Hi there.
And for those of you who don't know, Zonar was a previous client of Venturous PR with the previous batch, and they have recently launched their app less than a month ago on 30th September this year. And congratulations on the launch.
Thank you.
So before we dive into today's questions, could you introduce yourself and explain in detail what your company does?
So I'll talk a little bit about myself first, and then I'll go into Zonar. So hi everyone, I'm Dan, and I'm the CEO and one of the founders of Zonar. And as you said, my background, I was with Shazam, which was the famous music application, and I was part of their launch team from before the App Store was even a thing. And basically I started as just kind of a part-timer and ended up being their head for Japan and Southeast Asia. I've worked with a few other startups that have become quite big as well, worked with some corporates and also been a freelancer as well. So I've kind of seen all the different kinds of worlds over there. So Zonar came about basically out of this need I felt for kind of freelancers, so everyone from plumbers to personal trainers, piano teachers, to accountants, to whatever kind of freelance work you need. I still felt like there was a real need for people to be able to access them and to get connected with those in their own community. The current methods to do it just aren't built for purpose. So I really felt like this is something that we could improve upon. And so Zonar basically was born of that idea. It's the expert network. It's all about helping people connect with their local community and helping them utilize and marketing those skills.
So for Zonar, how do you make sure that like each employees that they have like their specialty is right with what they make sure they know what they do, they know what they're doing?
So how do you
make sure that they are actually qualified in?
Okay, so we go through we offer, right, so in Zonar, in the platform, we basically kind of leave this up to both the employer, to the freelancer and to the user. They can share what they want. So we have those who are extremely qualified in certain areas. So you may be looking for an electrician with a very specific certificate, and we let the clients see that and we show the qualifications they have. But maybe you just need someone who can change a light bulb. You don't need someone who has the best qualifications just to change a light bulb. Like you're talking about some auntie at home, she can't reach up to there, and she just needs someone who can like just change her box or just change the light bulb for her. So that's something that basically between the customer and the expert, they can find out upon. So it really helps them. We've got that customizability there, that ability for everyone to choose what they need.
So how have things been since the last batch of Venturous PR?
So yeah, we just launched 2 weeks ago, and actually we were using Venturous's plan for some of that. I'm sure we'll go over that a bit more in a bit. But basically, we had a virtual launch, and since then, in the first 2 weeks, we've already had 200 signups. And we were kind of in stealth mode till that point, but now we've really kind of just been exploding out there and just kind of seizing the day.
Yeah. So were you satisfied with their work?
So it's Venturous's work.
Yeah, Venturous.
So yeah, Venturous put together a whole plan for us for 6 months. And overall, I thought it was great. I mean, obviously, you can never tell beforehand what's going to happen. So there's obviously things that need to change. Like we talked to Venturous originally about how we were going to launch, and actually they were the ones who came up with a virtual launch for us. We were actually thinking of doing it in person, and we stuck to having a virtual launch. But there were certain aspects that obviously we had to modify as things changed. And so I thought it was a really good job.
So what do you think can be done to be improved from the previous batch?
So one of the major things, and I don't think this is so much with the people that we worked with, but more just on the communication of, so basically we joined Venturous through the MDEC program, and we were just given kind of a flyer before we joined on what would be presented. It was kind of like, oh, you'll get 6 months plan, blah, blah, blah. And we weren't kind of given that much info into the inside of what Venturous was. In fact, we didn't even know at the time, at the very beginning, that it was a student-led agency. It was just kind of like, oh, get 50,000 ringgit in PR credits. So kind of the communication around what was being offered and how it works, that you guys you're a student-led agency, that, okay, you're making a 6-month plan for us, but we're going to get that all in 2 months, and kind of you're going to hand that off to us. and that you guys kind of graduate and then a whole new batch takes over. So that kind of change there. All that kind of stuff could be communicated better to us, I think. I will say though that one of the best part, I really did find the work that you guys produced really good. To the point that kind of I've kept up my relationship with some of the Venturous candidates that I was dealing with.
So what are your plans to improve and to be more recognizable?
So in terms of, well, we've just launched recently. Until that point, we were in stealth mode, so we weren't really blasting that much out on social media. We were just very quietly building up everything out there, and we weren't really putting much outside of kind of our internal areas. Since we launched, we've, like I said, had 200 signups to our apps. We've had our Facebook page has gotten more followers, and we're doing quite well with TikTok in particular. I believe our recent video had close to, if not over, 3,000 views. So it's really just kind of continuing on there.
So would you ever form a partnership with Venturous PR if it's possible?
So I think that this is something that it depends on the nature of Venturous at that time. Like we were just talking about, Venturous changes with every different batch, and kind of you guys cycle through it very quickly. I do think that it would be great to have some kind of consistent flow, even if you guys are changing, to have some kind of handoff that like we can continue a relationship, and if we were able to build on that, potentially, yeah, I think there's great potential there.
So in the PR plan that was presented to you, so one of your goals was creating awareness and generating publicity for the application to gain approximately like 100 to 250 accounts, signups, and apps downloads per month. So has Zonar hit that target yet? So
like I was saying, we only launched 2 weeks ago, but we've already got 200 signups just in those 2 weeks. So we're well on track to, in fact, we've beat that already. So just hopefully we can keep that up.
So are you planning to gain more signups and app downloads?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're just going to continue blasting that out there and continue going on with that.
So yeah, so before we wrap up today's episode of Venturous Talk, would you like to give any advice to any of our aspiring entrepreneurs that's currently watching, and message to all our viewers in general? Yeah,
I mean, I'd just love to say that like, I think that Malaysia has such an entrepreneurial environment. I think that there's a real fostering of kind of talent and ideas here, and that people should really go for it. Like if you just, an idea is worth nothing. You have to put it into practice for it to actually be something that goes into place. And just like keep at it for anyone who is interested in being an entrepreneur. Like, I mean, it's not easy, but if it's something you want to do, you end up doing something you love, and you end up kind of feeling like you're making a difference in the world in some way. One thing I will add, just going back to one of your previous questions, because I just had a thought that came to me. In terms of working with Venturous, one of the benefits of having Venturous and having tailors behind them, you have the whole university potentially behind you. And if that's something that tailors could potentially help you leverage, that like with companies like ourselves, who potentially would love to get kind of our hands on talent like yourselves, not just in the PR world, but in all these areas, that something potentially could be expanded from there. So that's something that's really worth looking into.
So that will conclude in today's episode of Venturous Talk. Thank you, Mr. Daniel, for taking your time to do this. And
being here.
Thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. I'm your host, Tianjun, and yeah, see you guys in the next episode.